This is what just a small orthosis can achieve. Can you spot the difference? In this video, I'll show you how just small biomechanical interventions can create such big effects in patients with hypermobile lower ankle joints. This case was sent in by Baqir, a gait viewer from Iraq, and it's a great example of something we see very often in orthotics. A foot problem that does not stay at the foot. It affects the tibia, the knee, the hip, and finally the efficiency of the whole gait pattern. But let's understand the core problems first. The patient is 8 years old and presented with muscle pain, fatigue, general hypermobility, and a valgus hindfoot position and a flattened medial arch. Now look closely at the walking pattern. You can see the overpronation of the foot. From behind we also see the classical too many toes sign, which describes an increased external rotation of the foot, caused here by the increased forefoot abduction. But this is where all the problems start to accumulate. When the hindfoot collapses into valgus and the midfoot arch flattens, the forefoot moves into abduction. This can influence the alignment above. The tibia follows into internal rotation, the knee position changes, and the load through the medial side of the foot and knee increases. So the key question is, do we really need to control the whole leg? Or can we improve the entire chain by controlling the right part of the foot? In this case, the answer is yes, a small orthotic correction can create a large biomechanical effect. And this is very important, because if the foot is correctable, we do not need a large and restrictive device. We need the smallest orthotic intervention that gives us enough control. So this is why Baqir chose a custom-made supramalleolar orthosis, or SMO. This is the principle behind this result. Control what is pathological, but preserve what is functional. Now let's look at the casting process. For an SMO like this, the measurements are critical. We need the ML distance of the malleoli, because the orthosis will enclose those at key support points and needs to fit very precisely. We also need the ML distance at the metatarsal heads, the foot length, and every other measurement where the final orthosis must match the patient's anatomy. One important detail, the forefoot becomes wider under load, so when we model and rectify the cast later, we need to respect that. Next, we mark the important anatomical landmarks, the malleoli, the metatarsal heads, sensitive or painful areas, and especially the substentaculum tali, because this area plays an important role in controlling the hindfoot. Then comes the most important point of casting. The foot must be corrected during the cast, not aggressively, not beyond what the patient can tolerate, but as close as possible to the desired outcome. Correction only makes sense if it's functionally tolerated. Next step. Cast rectification. Baqir first marked the prominent areas and used small metallic nails sticking out a few millimeters. This creates extra space in the final orthosis and helps to avoid pressure on those sensitive bony areas. But now comes the functional part. Because we want to correct the valgus hindfoot position, we need to shape the model in a way that gives us control. We create support under the medial arch, stabilize the heel, and guide the hindfoot away from the pathological valgus position. The goal is not to block everything. The goal is to create a stable frame around the hind and midfoot, so the foot cannot collapse into the same pathological pattern. After smoothing the cast and checking all transitions, the plastic can be pulled over the model. And then comes the real test. Now let's look at the result. Can you see the difference? The hindfoot position is more physiological. The excessive valgus is reduced. The forefoot abduction improves. And the overall foot progression looks more stable. According to Baqir, the patient felt immediate relief and was very happy with the result. And this is exactly why this case is so interesting. The valgus position of the heel did not only affect the hindfoot, it influenced the midfoot, the forefoot, the knee rotation, and potentially even hip movement. So with this small orthotic intervention, we are not improving foot posture. We are improving the mechanical conditions for the entire lower limb gait. And this is the big lesson from this case. The best orthotic solution is not the biggest one. It is the one that controls the key problem with the least restriction. If you have an interesting patient case, a clinical question, or a topic you want me to cover in a Gait video, just send it to me or write it in the comments. We can build this channel into a place where O&P professionals around the world learn from each other and increase the quality of education together. And as always, see you in the next video.